we get more collapse of pipelines going all the way up to the top of Valley Vista, I mean, more properties are going to be destroyed.
Another round of storms hitting the West Coast, raising concerns about the potential for flooding and mudslides. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. Heavy rain continues to fall tonight in many places. These storms are sweeping across California, and there have also been showers in Arizona as well. We're also starting to see some damage tonight. Images on social media show a wall that collapsed this afternoon at a shopping center in Rolling Hills just outside of Los Angeles. Emergency crews here say this was caused by heavy rain flow at the site and no one was hurt. We begin our team coverage tonight on the wet weather with Fox 11's Christy Fajardo, who talked with people in Southern California worried about the damage these storms could cause.
Barely any rain fell in this quiet neighborhood Wednesday, but the threat and recent history were enough for the installation of flooding preps on Trueno Avenue and evacuation warnings for a couple of houses on this street and the one above.
We think it'll be okay, for us anyway.
Diane Fisher and her husband discovered a sinkhole on their property after storms in March. The neighbor next door moved out when the hillside eroded to the house below. The problem wasn't just the rain, but also the aging storm pipe.
It's just corroded and dirt has just fallen into it, so it's just plugged. And in March, there's so much rain, it just bursts through the pipe and started eroding underneath.
Now take a look at this. This is what her backyard looked like during Hurricane Hilary in August. Even with all that water, her house survived and the drainage was correctly diverted away from the homes below.
We clear our own storm drains on our own properties. That's about all we can do. Make sure they flow properly and the egress is outward, supposed to go to the street below.
Andy Catano lives a few houses away from Diane. Now that residents here know why the drain pipes failed in March, every storm becomes a concern. The drainage system was built before Catano moved into his home in the 70s. Neighbors tell Fox 11 News the pipes were made out of corrugated metal, not expected to last into the 21st century.
And if we get more collapse of pipelines going all the way up to the top of Valley Vista, I mean, more properties are going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And that was Fox 11's Christy Fajardo reporting tonight. In the San Francisco Bay Area, crews were busy making sure the heavy rains didn't cause street flooding. In San Jose, crews scrambled to clear out storm drains that were clogged with wet leaves and other debris. Workers were out all throughout the day to make sure the city's 35,000 catch basins were able to keep up with the wet weather.
The timing and when the calls come in and the travel time going from one spot to another.
One trouble spot today was Interstate 280 near Highway 17 near San Jose. The water came up to drivers' wheel wells here, and that certainly slowed down the morning commute through this area. Officials caution people that as the rainy season begins to kick in here during the winter months, it is not a good idea to drive through standing water. Well, travelers are keeping a close eye on these storms as they head out for the holidays. Here is a live look tonight at Los Angeles International Airport, where about 17% of flights have been delayed today. Around 28% of flights have been delayed at San Francisco International Airport.
Yeah, it was pretty busy. Yeah. But we had a direct flight, so we didn't need to rush into any problems. So it was good. Yeah.
I'm excited to get home for Christmas and yeah, I just, all these lines, I'm like, pray I don't miss my flight.
Let's hope not. By Friday, these storm systems will have reached the Midwest and the South. Several airlines are allowing customers to change their travel plans without paying any extra fees. FlightAware's animated misery map can help you gauge where airports are seeing the most delays and cancellations. It tracks airport and storm activity all across the country, and we've put a link to it up at our website, which is westcoastwrap.com. Well, these storms are also expected to hit San Diego. Here's a live look tonight at the conditions in the San Diego harbor. The city's storm patrol is on duty, ready to respond to flooding or downed trees across the area. Sandbags are also being provided to people who live in those flood-prone areas. Let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Mark Tamayo, who is tracking the wet weather here. And Mark, you have a look at where these storms are headed.
Hi there, Alex. Yeah, the storm's headed definitely down toward Southern California over the next couple of days, and it has been a pretty active weather pattern this week. As you can see in the Bay Area, San Francisco, Santa Cruz 1.49 inches, San Francisco over an inch. These are totals over the past 24 hours. In Central and Southern California, those numbers adding up as well, and there is more rainfall in their forecast. So from San Francisco, we are drying out in the Thursday forecast, but all that energy continues to approach Central and Southern California. So the storm moves south, and that means the rain clouds move south as well. We have a flood watch posted now through Thursday with for all these areas in green. So rainfall potentially around 2 to 4 inches. Coastal slopes and the higher terrain, that's a big concern, upwards of 5 to 8 to possibly 10 inches. That's a lot of rain, too much rain in a short amount of time. So that's the key concern over the next couple days. Here's that circulation offshore approaching Southern California. Right now, we still have some lingering rain showers across portions of the Bay Area, but as we move the maps to the south, closer to Santa Barbara, closer to Los Angeles and Oceanside. And right now, in fact, we have a flood advisory closer to Santa Barbara until 9:45 tonight. Showing you this, the rainfall forecast model as we take this into your Thursday. It's showing you a lot of the rainfall closer to Santa Barbara, but I suspect we are still going to have some rain bands moving into Los Angeles County, and that'll be the case once again into Friday as that energy begins to move in from the south, but it will dissipate later in the day Friday and into Saturday. So one of the rainfall projections here showing you those numbers really adding up for these sites right on through Thursday and into Friday, but we will gradually dry things out as we head into the weekend, even for Southern California. We'll continue to keep an eye on the West Coast weather and have the full update coming up in just a few minutes. Alex.
All right, we will be looking forward to that break from the rain. Yeah. Mark, thank you. Body camera video released today by Las Vegas police shows the chaos that unfolded during a mass shooting on the UNLV campus earlier this month. On that video, you can hear the sound of gunfire. Then officers say that the suspect is down. The footage also shows officers clearing the campus buildings as they search for the gunman who opened fire at the university back on December 7th. The shooter killed 3 faculty members before campus police officers shot and killed him. Well, after Colorado's Supreme Court ruled this week, former President Trump is not eligible to appear on that state's ballot. Another West Coast state is considering following suit. California Democrats plan to argue Trump should not be allowed on the Republican primary ballot. KTVU's Greg Lee has more tonight on that effort as we wait for the U.S. Supreme Court to weigh in.
California lawmakers making an effort to follow in Colorado's footsteps. Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis sent the Secretary of State this letter urging her to explore every legal option to remove former President Trump from California's primary ballot.
Legally speaking, I really think we're in a holding pattern. Politically, of course, this is a moment for Democrats to say, look at what Colorado did. We're going to do the same thing.
Colorado's Supreme Court ruled Mr. Trump was disqualified from its ballot due to his role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol, citing the 14th Amendment, which guards against insurrection.
There are some legal questions. Was there an insurrection? Did Trump give aid or comfort to those who engaged in it? And does this clause, in fact, apply to the presidency? President Biden told reporters there's no question Trump supported an insurrection.
Well, I think certainly it's self-evident. You saw it all. Now, whether the 14th Amendment applies, I'll let the court make that decision. But he certainly supported an insurrection.
They're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference because we're beating them so badly in the polls.
Mr. Trump railed on the other criminal cases he's facing at a campaign rally. He addressed the Colorado decision on Truth Social, calling it a sad day for the country and even fundraising off of it. His legal team plans to appeal the ruling with the Supreme Court, their decision likely to answer the question for all 50 states, including California.
If the Supreme Court stays out of it and leaves it to the, quote, political process, what they're really doing is leaving it to the vagaries of the 50 states. And you could end up with a Republican nominee who's on the ballot in, 35 states and off the ballot in 15 states.
David Sloss, law professor at Santa Clara University, is writing an amicus brief to the High Court urging them to rule on this issue. While the justices mull the case, Republicans are rushing to Trump's defense, even those running against him in the primary.
I would, from Colorado's GOP primary, withdraw from that name and require every other Republican in this race to do the same thing.
Greg Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Researchers with the nonprofit multimedia publication Lawfare are tracking legal challenges to Trump's eligibility to run for president. They are seeing challenges citing the 14th Amendment in 13 different states right now. 5 of those states are here in the West, including Oregon, Nevada, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Alaska. Oregon's Secretary of State says she can't take former President Trump off the ballot. LaVon Griffin-Valade says the law does not give state officials the authority to determine the qualifications of primary candidates. She expects Trump's name will stay on the ballot in Oregon unless a court directs state officials to remove it. 2 men from California are among those being sent home in a prisoner swap between the U.S. and Venezuela. The U.S. freed Alex Saab, a close ally of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. In exchange, 10 Americans imprisoned there are being sent home. Among them is a Bay Area man who's been detained since October, along with a Los Angeles County public defender and 2 Green Berets. Venezuela also sent the U.S. back a fugitive who's at the center of a Pentagon bribery scandal. President Biden put out a statement on the swap that reads in part, quote, "These individuals have lost far too much precious time with their loved ones, and their families have suffered every day in their absence. I am grateful that their ordeal is finally over and that these families are being made whole once more." Coming up for us tonight on West Coast Wrap, sanctuary cities here in the West put on notice. Coming up, why they could soon see more migrants arriving from Texas. Plus, the growing debate over reintroducing grizzly bears in Washington. An expert weighs in on what this could look like. Sanctuary cities here in the West have been given notice about Texas's latest move, responding to an influx of migrants at the southern border. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he's putting migrants on planes to sanctuary cities. He posted video to social media today showing people boarding a plane to Chicago. He says more flights are being planned, but didn't offer any specifics about where those flights might be headed. Until now, Texas has only moved migrants out of state by bus. Alaska Airlines flight attendants say they will vote to authorize a strike after more than a year of contract negotiations. Flight attendants picketed at 8 airports across the country yesterday to draw attention to what they say has been a lack of progress in contract talks. The workers held signs with slogans like "Alaska, quit stalling, our pay is appalling." Alaska Airlines says the vote will not have any effect on operations. Responding to the union's claims today, Alaska said it has offered flight attendants an industry-leading proposal that is the largest in Alaska Airlines history. It includes a 15% wage increase. Alaska also says it has contract meetings scheduled for January and February of next year. Over 50 agreements with the union have been reached since September of last year. About 1,800 Frontline Healthcare workers began a 7-day strike at 4 facilities across Southern California. Workers, including ER technicians, nursing assistants, and radiology technicians, are picketing outside hospitals run by Prime Healthcare. They say executives are bargaining in bad faith and are refusing to hear their concerns about worker and patient safety.
Have many healthcare workers that completely changed their careers after COVID, right? And the few that you have, you're not attracting them because your wages are just not competing with all the hospitals around us.
In a statement, Prime Healthcare said they are offering competitive pay and benefits. The company added that its hospitals will remain open with qualified temporary resources.
And in weather, once again, this circulation offshore is the key factor of the West Coast forecast over the next couple of days, already producing some rainfall for northern and central California and headed down toward Southern California. Up in the Pacific Northwest, some clouds approaching and some rain developing expected. At least that'll be the plan into Friday and into the weekend. Here is the radar imagery right now, as you can see over San Francisco and the Bay Area, and then closer to Santa Barbara and Los Angeles and Oceanside, approaching San Diego as well. All these bands of rainfall will stick around into tomorrow. We could be talking about some heavy rain bands. Up in Seattle today, this was the scene up at SeaTac. You can see the dry conditions, but nice layer of fog here. Probably not so nice if you're in that fog bank with the low visibilities. Lower 50s there. In San Francisco, definitely the rain earlier this morning. A factor for the morning commute, some scattered off and on rain into the afternoon hours, and some raindrops for LAX this afternoon. Temperatures in the 60s and a lot more raindrops in their forecast over the next couple days. Right now, it is 43 degrees in Denver. Seattle's 41, San Francisco 58, Phoenix 65 degrees, and they eventually have some rainfall in their forecast headed their way over the next couple days. Now, as you can see for Thursday, it is the winter solstice, and finally we're talking about winter and lots of clouds, as you can see up in Seattle. Temperatures will be in the 40s. Out toward Denver, partly sunny skies, temperatures in the 50s, and the main event is once again focused down to the south. And the forecast model is kind of picking up on that rain band. This is tomorrow morning, 4 o'clock. You'll notice another system offshore here. This could be a factor up in the Pacific Northwest as we take this into Friday. Also notice the rainfall sticks around for LA and San Diego into Friday and expands into portions of Arizona by Friday as well. So here's kind of the breakdown over the next couple days. Up in Seattle, the clouds for tomorrow. Rainfall makes a comeback by Friday. In San Francisco, heading into a dry weather stretch. Some clouds first thing Thursday morning, and multiple rain clouds for Los Angeles for Thursday and Friday. Phoenix, lots of sunshine tomorrow, but look what happens as that system begins to scoot on out to the east. Their rainfall chances actually going up as well for both Friday and into Saturday. So, Alex, a lot to keep an eye on over the next couple days. That system down into Southern California by Thursday and Friday. Another system that could approach Seattle as we head toward Friday.
Things staying busy across the West.
Busy.
Mark, thank you. Now we turn to the case of the former professional basketball player and his girlfriend, both accused of killing a woman near Las Vegas. Today, 19-year-old Sakari Harnden appeared in a Las Vegas courtroom to face murder charges. Prosecutors say Harnden and 27-year-old Chance Comanche worked together to strangle Morena Rogers, whose body was found in the desert last week. Before his arrest, Comanche played for the Stockton Kings. That's the NBA G League affiliate of the Sacramento Kings. Comanche is in custody tonight in Sacramento, awaiting extradition to Las Vegas. Police say Harnden and the victim were both sex workers and had an ongoing dispute. In Arizona, the Cochise County Sheriff's Office is investigating the death of an 8-year-old boy who was shot with a high-powered air rifle. This happened Monday night in the community of St. David. The boy was struck in the chest with .22 caliber pellets and rushed to the hospital, where he ultimately died. Authorities have not said at this point exactly what led up to that shooting. Up next tonight here on West Coast Wrap, some people want to see Grizzly Bears make a comeback in Washington. We'll tell you what that process could look like in the Cascades. Also, see how a sheriff in Colorado caved to pressure from his deputies, but it was only to spread some more holiday cheer, and a whole lot of it. Airbnb is using new technology to reduce the number of bookings that could potentially lead to problems this New Year's Eve. The company says, just like bars and clubs hire extra bouncers, it will be using AI technology to restrict certain New Year's Eve bookings. The technology will block bookings that could be a high risk for a disruptive party. Cyber defense experts suggest reaching out to Airbnb if you are looking to make a legitimate rental and are denied. The idea of reintroducing grizzlies in Washington isn't going over well with everyone. Some people say bringing back the bears will give them a chance to survive in their natural homes, but others say the move is dangerous. Fox 13's Matt Smith spoke with a wildlife expert about what the process of bringing back the bears could look like.
You're looking at a grizzly bear leaving what's known as a culvert trap. It's the most typical tool used to move one of these large bears from one area to another. It's also a situation that's played out repeatedly in Montana's Cabinet Mountains, an area that at one point saw its bear population dwindle into the single digits.
I think the cabinets represent an example of how it can occur.
Recently, I caught up with Wayne Castworm at Woodland Park Zoo. Here, you can see a grizzly bear in the Living Northwest area. But the hope for Castworm and others is that one day bears like this will be in the wild.
We would be looking at young bears in order to make the move. Bears that are, number one, maybe more adaptable to a new landscape, but also bears with their life, their reproductive life ahead of them, because these bears are going to be the basis for jump-starting a population.
Castworm and colleagues did something similar in northwest Montana. Today, there's a population of grizzlies there in the mid-30s, but that work didn't start from scratch like it would here. What is familiar, though, is the push and pull seen during meetings and written comments about the grizzly. Comments that have pitted people within our state against one another.
We already have this oversaturation of predators.
From those on the east side, where numerous farm organizations have come out against the reintroduction to grizzlies, to tribes. In our own area alone, you have various groups on opposing sides. One local tribe council writing, quote, "The Sauk-Suiattle Indian tribe does not hesitate in initiating litigation and all other means necessary to preserve the promises made in its treaty with the United States," adding, "Consider this as a letter of opposition." Meanwhile, the Upper Skagit tribe praised reintroduction plans, writing, quote, "We respect the grizzly bear's right to coexist, just as it did with our ancestors for thousands of years before contact with the first Europeans to enter our homeland."
Not that, the public is 100% supportive, but in the early days of this, we had a lot of concern from the public, and it was expressed in a variety of means, but those have diminished quite a bit.
While no two spots are the same in terms of sentiment or ecology, Castworm tells me his decades-long work in the Cabinet Mountains could serve as a blueprint.
On balance, again, we've taken that population from single digits back up to 30 to 35 animals, and we're seeing reproduction going on as well by the bears we've put there. And in fact, from some of the initial bears that we've put there, we're now into the third generation arising from those bears, which I think points to the success of the program.
So you might be wondering what actually happens next. Castworm and other biologists with U.S. Fish and Wildlife are poring over thousands of comments that have previously been made. They'll pool them all together and make comments or responses to questions that the public had. A final EIS or environmental impact statement will then come out in spring of 2024, and that should give us a better idea whether or not grizzlies could actually be appearing in Washington state. Of course, in the meantime, the debate continues. Reporting in the newsroom, Matthew Smith, Fox 13 News.
Finally tonight, a 2-story tall Christmas tree is now standing at the Larimer County Sheriff's Office in Colorado. It took several deputies to haul that tree into the building. You can see they were wearing Santa hats as they brought it in, and they got right to decorating the tree. Over the past few days, 549 employees at that office all conspired in a fun-loving holiday prank to persuade the sheriff in that county to let them get a tree that was this large. Every day, a tree of decreasing size appeared in the lobby until all that was left was just a tiny, sparse tree. And that's when the sheriff finally caved, and he gave employees permission to bring in that massive decoration there. Holiday spirit reaching new heights there in Colorado. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching. You can stay up to date on all the stories we're covering at westcoastwrap.com. And a reminder, you can stream all our shows on your smart TV. All you have to do is download the Fox Local app. Have a great night. See you back here tomorrow.